is the moment where most Scrum Masters lose the game before it even starts. Sprint planning. Your product owner walks in with a packed backlog. You've got retrospective actions sitting in your tracker, and you need 4 story points of capacity. How do you ask for that without sounding like you are fighting for scraps? You don't ask. You build a ritual that makes improvement work non-negotiable. Let me show you exactly how. The solution is a 3-minute ritual at the start of every sprint planning session. Not at the end when capacity is gone, not if we have time, but at the beginning before anyone touches the product backlog. Okay? Remember this. So here is the anti-pattern to avoid: discussing retrospective action items after the backlog is already filled. Why? Well, at that point, every improvement becomes a trade-off against committed scope, and improvement always loses. The ritual has 3 parts. You run through them quickly, in order. Part 1. Last sprint's improvement action completion status. Pull up your sprint integrated action tracker from a last lecture. This can be as simple as dedicated swim lane on your board or filtered view in your tool. What matters is that it's visible and reviewed every sprint. Show what was committed and what got done. Last sprint, we committed to 2 improvements. The automated linting is now live in our PR template. The acceptance criteria checklist is in progress and carries over. 30 seconds. But it establishes that improvement actions are work the team commits to and reports on. Part 2. Any carryover items requiring discussion. If something didn't finish, decide right now where to recommit or descope. The AC checklist hit unexpected complexity. We need 2 more story points to finish. Do we commit to this sprint or break this down definitely? Get a decision, not limbo. Part 3. This sprint's new improvement commitments. Introduce what came from your last retrospective. Our retrospective identified 2 high-impact improvements. Let me show you the capacity recommendation. And here is the language that makes this work. We've identified 2 high-impact improvements from our retrospective. Based on our velocity and the product backlog priorities, I recommend we allocate 10% of capacity, approximately 4 story points, to these improvements. This investment will reduce our PR review time from 3 days to 1 day, which accelerates all future work and protects our sustainable pace. Now compare that with what most Scrum Masters actually say. Can we maybe try to squeeze an improvement if we have time? That language guarantees the work disappears. You just told everyone that improvement work is optional. And here is why the first version works. It does actually 4 things simultaneously. Frames this as a capacity allocation, not a permission seeking. Provides concrete numbers, 10%, 4 story points, specific and reasonable, and connects directly to business outcomes, like a faster delivery, not better code reviews. And position this as a protecting velocity, not reducing it. Now, about that 10%. 10% is a starting point, not a law. Some teams begin at 5%, others at 15%, depending on maturity and organizational pressure. What matters is that improvement capacity is explicit, visible, non-zero. If your first sprint planning negotiation lands at 5%, that's not failure. That's establishing the pattern. you can calibrate upward once the team proves the value. And one more thing, there will be a rare sprints where capacity is legitimately constrained. Critical incidents, recovery work, regulatory deadlines. In those cases, explicitly acknowledge the exception and explicitly recommit next sprint. Say it out loud. We are skipping improvement capacity this sprint due to the production incident recovery. We'll restore the allocation next sprint. Silence is the enemy, not flexibility. Intentional exceptions are different from quietly abandoning the system. And what if your product owner pushes back? If they say, we cannot afford to lose capacity right now, your response is, I understand the pressure, and that's exactly why we need this investment. Without continuous improvement, our cycle time increases, our defect rate rises, and our velocity actually decreases over time. We are not losing capacity, we are protecting it. Frame it as a risk mitigation. And if they still resist, ask them directly. Team, if we don't address the PR review bottlenecks this sprint, how does this affect our ability to deliver this feature on time? Let the team speak to the business impact. Here is what changes when you run this ritual consistently. Teams that adopt this ritual typically see planning arguments disappear within 2 or 3 sprints. Why? Because improvement capacity is no longer up to debate. Within 3 sprints, you stop negotiating. The capacity allocation becomes standard. The team reports improvement action status naturally. And sprint planning starts with the retrospective review because that's just what you do. Your retrospective feeds a system that actually works instead of generating lists that die in abandoned backlogs. That's when retrospective fatigue reverses. Not because you facilitate it better, but because you build a system where improvement action becomes a real work. Okay? In the next section, we are going to talk about how you prove this value to stakeholders. How do you take completed improvements and translate them into concrete evidence that demonstrates your impact as a Scrum Master?